Welcome back to Al Chapo Sports, everyone's least favorite sports show where we do the thinking so you don't have to. My goodness, am I late on this week's series of videos? So much so that it's basically coming out the week after it's supposed to come out. But please forgive me, I have been very busy. Anyway, let's get into it, starting with NFL hell. This week's going to be interesting because a lot of teams that were in NFL hell last week won. And the bottom tier, we all know Carolina's the worst team in the league, but they had a bye week, so I'm giving them a break and letting them have their bye week out of hell. So basically, almost all new faces in NFL hell this week. Let's get right into it with our producer. Going on to number 5, we have the Chargers, if you can see through all this feline fluff. The Chargers, everybody, they lost to Kansas City, which is a great team, don't get me wrong. It's not that bad of a loss, like, oh my gosh, you lost to KC. No, KC is the top dog. What lands the Chargers here is that they are entirely too talented of a team to be 2-4. They are 2-4. They lost in their division this week. They're on a 2-loss losing streak, so things are not looking good. I mean, to quantify how bad this 2-4 record is for this team, the Raiders are ahead of them. The Raiders are in no way, shape, or form a more talented team than the Chargers, yet they have a better record than the Chargers. So, Chargers, you are in the 5th spot, well-deserved, or poorly deserved, whichever's worse on you guys. Moving on to number 4, we have, speak of the devil, the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders lost this week to the Chicago Bears. The Bears have been a mainstay in NFL hell since the beginning of this season. They are an absolutely god-awful, booty-butt team. So if you lose to them, you are doing something wrong. You are doing something very, very terribly and horribly wrong. The Raiders have a 3-4 record. Not the worst, not the best. Actually, it's pretty bad, but 3 wins typically at this point in the season won't land you in NFL hell. But the fact that you lost to the Bears, who are just terrible, is what lands you here. So Las Vegas, welcome to hell. First appearance this season. And depending on how your season shakes up, you could be a mainstay, because it's not looking good for you next week. Anyway, moving on to our 3rd spot. Whoa, we don't use that logo anymore. What's that? I'm using it because it's a much better logo. Washington football team. Washington Commanders. Boring, lame. At least this guy looked cool as fuck, even if the name was offensive. Regardless, this team lost to the New York Giants. The New York Giants, another mainstay of NFL hell. And, I mean, you just can't do much worse than losing to the Giants. There are a few teams you can lose worse to, but the Giants are a pretty pitiful one. Washington is having a awful season, just terrible. Ron Rivera is probably the worst coach in the league right now, and I don't see a path forward for Washington. I don't see a way that they can put it together or make anything salvageable out of this season. While I don't think they're inherently as bad as some of the other teams on this list and teams that won this week and got themselves out of NFL hell, they're still pretty bad. So, Washington, welcome to hell, buddy. Moving on to number 2, the Green Bay Packers. It does me joy to see the Packers here in NFL hell. They are now 2-4, is that right? 2-4, 2-5, something like that. I didn't write down the records on my cheat sheet today, but they lost to, get this, the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos are arguably the worst team in the league. So if you lose to them, you bet your ass you're going to NFL hell. The only other team they have a win over, I think, is the Chicago Bears, who are also god-awful terrible, even though they managed to get their way out of hell this week, along with the Broncos. It's not looking good for the Packers. The Bears, at least, started terrible, and they're still terrible, but they're on an upward trajectory. The Packers started out looking okay and are on a harsh downward trajectory. And seeing that the Vikings are feeling very hot right now after knocking off the best team in the league, the 49ers, there's a very good chance that next week, in Lambeau, Green Bay loses to the Vikings, who are also not a good team, meaning this spot in hell here for you, Green Bay, might be solidified. You're the second worst team in the league today. Moving on to our number one spot, we've got the Arizona Cardinals, the only team to roll over NFL hell from last week, rolls on into the worst spot. Worst spot in the league. They have a 1-5 record. They lost to the Seattle Seahawks, which is a divisional game, making the playoffs not only further out of reach for Arizona, but practically impossible at this point of the season. Arizona, I've said it before, you guys are terrible. I said there's not really a path forward for you guys, and losing to a divisional opponent who is on a downward trajectory, mind you. The Seahawks have started to fall off in recent weeks. So to lose to them, it's not a good look. You are in the bottom circle, bottom ring of NFL hell, and it's likely that you're going to stay there. But until next time, guys, comment down below. Tell me who you think the 5 worst teams are in the NFL after week 7, 8. Gosh, me being so behind on making these videos doesn't help with the fact that I'm not entirely confident on what week it is. Week 7. It's week 7. After week 7, these are the first 5 worst teams. Comment down below telling me who you think the 5 worst are. Maybe I'll stop stuttering in this video and get back on track with making these videos. But anyway, until next time, guys, I will see you all later.